Hey, everybody. Yes, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, beard's 1 week longer. Other than that, don't know much about how you're doing, what's going on. How's the week been? Good to see you.
Yeah. I'm well, Jason. Thanks for asking.
Good.
It's been a good week. I enjoy I, I I enjoy our sessions here. I enjoy talking, and I'm glad to do it. So
Good.
always want to know, how are you as well?
I'm good. I'm good. Everything's
Okay.
good. Everything's boring, which I think is good. I've been
That's
looking
good.
forward to getting back to boring,
Boring.
and it's nice
Yeah.
to be a little bit boring. So
Yeah.
good to be here.
Absolutely. Well, we've got Jason, as you know, we've got the greatest podcast audience in the world. They're very smart people, and they have very smart questions, good questions, all of them. So many that we can't even answer all of them, but we're going to try to answer a few today. So we've collected a few of our favorites. And before we jump in, if for those of you that are listening now that haven't sent in a question, you can go to paidsearchpodcast.com, click on the contact link, and submit a question of your own. And you may be featured here on the podcast. I'll tell you, it's hard to get a question through that doesn't greatly compliment Jason. So be sure and compliment Jason, and it's more likely you will hear your name on the show. So with that, Jason, do we have
We got a review of
some feel
the week
goods
here.
for us?
Yeah, we got a review here, and if you want to send a question to the show, contact page, paidsearchpodcast.com, then go to the contact us page, and you can send us a question. And I don't know, every 6 to 8 weeks we do one of these Q&As, and people love them. So thanks for sending in your questions, and we're happy to help. Have a review of the week. It comes from Zach from the United States of America, so we appreciate that. 5 stars. Love this podcast. I highly recommend anyone doing or just starting out in Google Ads to subscribe to this podcast. Can't ask for more than that. So,
Wow,
Zach, thank you for that review. Those reviews help bump us up in the rankings, and we're on our way here. So we want to let everyone know about the Paid Search Podcast newsletter. Those of you who are subscribed get that on Mondays. We kind of share the most important part of the show, so we can direct you to that very quickly, and then it keeps you updated about the show. So go to paidsearchpodcast.substack.com and start getting those weekly newsletters on Monday. Chris is going to tell us about Opteo, and then we are going to jump into these questions, starting off with a question from Amy from Louisville.
That's right. And as Amy and many of our listeners know that have written in, Opteo is our favorite tool for our listeners and for us to get things done faster in Google Ads. You can enjoy an 8-week free trial, which is an amazing offer that you only get here on the Paid Search Podcast. And you can try the tool for free. So you say, well, okay, Chris, but what is Opteo? What does it do? Well, it's actually a better question what it doesn't do. What it doesn't do, it's not a push button, brainless system that just tries to manage your campaign for you. It doesn't assume that it's smarter than you. It assumes that you know Google Ads and that you can apply the suggestions that they make in a smart, efficient way. And it helps you do that faster by providing a streamlined process. So if you have a lot of clients, if you have one big account that you're managing yourself, or you're a business owner and you just don't know what questions to ask because sometimes you don't even know where to start. This is a great tool to help you brainstorm, come up with new ideas. So be sure and check out Opteo at opteo.com/PSP. You can enjoy that free 8-week trial.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So let's jump into this first question. Amy from Louisville. Thank you, or she says, thanks for sharing your Google tips. I've been listening for 6 months. How do I get to the top of the search results or this get my ad to the top of the results there? And also, how do I get to the top and show up in Google Maps? I
Mm.
want calls from people off Google. I get reviews and I put them in the ads. No traction yet. Thanks for your help and your feedback, Chris. So I think there's a few ways to approach this. But what's your first instinct when someone asks you about how to get to the top of the results?
So thank you, Amy, for your question. First, I think we have to preference it's never a good idea to just say I want to be at the top of Google Ads without first assuming that you know what you need to be on top for. I would assume that Amy knows that, but for the sake of our listeners, it's not a good idea to show on every keyword at the top. So I'll say that up front. It may be may actually be disastrous for you to have top impression share, top position for most, if not all, of your keywords, because the fact is not all keywords are equally valuable. Not all traffic is equally valuable. So I'll say that. But the simplest answer for me is, how you show up at the top is manual bids with aggressive bids pushing top position, so that you outbid your competitors. Showing up at the top, that's it. That's all it's going to take. Now, if you're doing automated bids, that is not quite so simple. There's, you kind of have to rely on the automated system to put you there. And there's some different ways to do that. But that's my general answer. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, I think my instinct was the same. To first discuss, like, number one is nice. Getting at the top is nice. There's obviously a lot of traffic there, or the majority of the traffic is going to come from there. Some people have theories sometimes that the higher you show up, the more quality the traffic is. I've seen that in some industries. In other industries, it doesn't really matter. But it's not everything, because thinking that way doesn't account for the cost to get there. So you want to take the cost to get there into consideration. But once you've thought that through and you kind of think like, okay, well, I want to try raising my ads, and I'll still keep an eye on the cost, but I want to try raising them and show up higher. Then there's a couple columns to kind of help guide your journey there. And Chris, like you said, manual bids is basically the way to do it quickly, because you can raise your bids and show up where you want. There's also impression share percentage, or some automated bid strategy like that tries to accomplish the same thing in an automated way. And then also something like max clicks. Don't worry about it. Google's going to try to get you those clicks and get that budget spent on the kind of keywords you have. So max clicks can get you the volume. Might be a good place to start if you're having trouble getting volume, not really knowing where to bid. Put max clicks on, let it go through the learning phase for a few days, and then they're going to help you get that traffic. But while you're doing that, there's a couple columns that you can add: absolute top percentage and then top percentage. They're called something like that. I think they're in the performance section. Yeah, the performance section of the columns.
Yeah, the very top section. Yeah.
Yeah, absolute top percentage.
And that's important to note. I was going to say, for those that aren't familiar with the columns, you might think that it's in the competitive section of the columns. It's actually in the performance. It's the only two position metrics in the performance column category. So it's important that when you look at position metrics, you're getting it from the performance category of the columns and not from the competitive metrics. A lot of people misunderstand and think, oh, well, position metrics are competitive metrics. So they go and they find those absolute top percentage. And that's actually a blend of position and impression share, which is not what you want to see. Those percentage numbers are completely different. They're blends between two different things. So I wanted to make sure that was crystal clear, because I find a lot of people make that mistake.
No, that's a good thing to point out. And for the first probably 3 or 4 months of the position columns changing from the old average position to the way they are now, I was actually using those top percentage and absolute top percentage with the impression share aspect to them. and not getting as clean of data as I should. But those will kind of tell you where you stand over the date range you're looking at. Absolute top percentage tells you the percent of the time that you're at the absolute first position. And then impression top percentage will tell you what percent of the time when your ads show, they're showing above organic and in that top section. And then finally, because Amy mentioned the maps, Chris, I just want to have a quick discussion about ad rank. Because a lot of clients want to show their ads in the maps. And we've actually done an experiment with an orthodontist in the past where they really want to be on the maps and up high in the maps, and because they got good traffic from there. But and this was with the location ad and location extensions and all that, to get their ad there consistently, it took a ton of ad rank, and which means it took a ton of bidding. And so ad rank determines if your ads get to show on a search and where they show. The higher your ad rank, the higher you'll show in the position. Ad rank is made up of probably thousands of things, but the core, or excuse me, it's not. The core is it's made up of quality score times your bid, and quality score is made up of probably thousands of things, little small things. It's got some big things in it, but my point I always tell clients, Chris, when it comes to ad rank, when you're running Google Ads correctly, you're kind of doing everything you can for quality score by default. So your quality score kind of is what it is if you're doing a good job already. So to me, ad rank essentially equates to bid if you're already taking care of the quality score. And if you bid more, you can show up higher. And when that comes to the maps and location extension, getting that to show, we just saw a correlation. The more we bid, the more we showed up higher in the maps. With the location ad, I think that basically had to do because them showing your extensions and stuff has a lot to do with your ad rank, which means your bid. But again, it's not the be all end all, because you can't just bid an infinite amount per click. Do you run into that situation with clients where they want things from Google Ads, like showing up high in the maps, showing all their extensions, their call extension? Do you kind of think, well, to do that, I basically have to bid more to get my ad rank up, and then that leads to that discussion? Is that your thought process, or is there something I'm missing to where you can get these goodies without having to just keep increasing your bids?
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's what it comes down to. I think everybody is so distracted by quality score, and there's so many blogs, maybe podcasts, YouTube channels out there that talk about, and maybe they even show some obscure campaign that they're like, see, look, this has 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. You can do it too if you follow this.
I'll take an 8, buddy. I'll take an 8 any day of the week. I might take a 7.
And the fact is that, Jason, you can back me up here, because it's not just me, but high 10s, 9s, and 8s are extremely rare. So you're very crippled in your ability to raise those.
How can we be the only ones that say that, Chris? I was in my head right now. I was just picturing you just walking off the plank, and I was going to give you one final shove into the ocean off my pirate ship, because I was going to say, no, Chris, I get 8, 9s, and 10s all the time. It's rare not to get them. But I've made that joke probably 700 times on our near 300 podcast now, so I'm not going to make that joke anymore. But no one else is saying that to people, Chris. We're like the only two that say it or admit it, or we suck at Google Ads and we don't know it. Like, what's going on here?
I don't think it's that we suck. I think it's an honesty thing, and a lot of people want to save face by, saying, oh, I get 9s and 10s and 8s all the time. Most of my campaigns are made up of just that. And if I get a 4, I pause that keyword and try something different immediately. That's not at all. I mean, I just sent a client a report today, a little, a screen share video that I did. The campaign was full of 1s, 2s, and 3s. There's red text everywhere on the keywords. It's like low quality score, low, and I'm like, we're dealing with this. I'm trying to improve it.
Have you tried making relevant ads?
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm asking.
No. You. Yeah. No, I just have he sells, like, he doesn't sell puppies, so I thought I would put puppies in the headline,
because everyone likes puppies.
Because everybody likes puppies and kittens and stuff. Highly unrelevant, but I get a great click-through rate. So I don't
So
know. I
yeah,
guess I'll try
obviously
something relevant.
obviously you have good ads. I'm just curious, is there anything wrong with the landing page or website, or does it seem like a good website, a
No,
relevant
it's a
website that's
yeah,
fast and all
it's
that?
solid website, clean.
So
The
then
guys
what
in the technology
what would be going
sector.
on? What happens in those cases? To me, it comes down to that expected click-through rate thing. And I was just going through this with a client the other day I was training. I don't think they say it in the ad in the help section, the help document anymore about expected click-through rate, that portion of quality score.
Mhm.
But I'm fairly certain, because we talked about it once on the podcast, that expected click-through rate was not just based on your account, but it was based on Google's data
Oh, yeah.
overall for that keyword. And they don't say that anymore, I don't
Definitely.
think, but we saw it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that seems to make sense, because sometimes you just have horrible quality scores and you're like, why? There's
It
no reason why.
it's almost as if Google, you know, has favoritism on some kind of keywords, and other keywords they don't like from the beginning. They're like, "Oh, I hate that
Yeah.
keyword." Oh, you're gonna people don't click that. It doesn't. It always gets a low CTR. It never brings good results. So
I just
sometimes
had the
Google
thought,
hates that keyword from the beginning.
what if other keywords that people run as well could also show up on those searches and are more competitive? And
Mm,
I don't know, I just had the thought, like, maybe it's not even the keyword itself a problem. Maybe they don't like that keyword preventing other searches coming in. I
yeah.
don't know. I was trying to get to the bottom
Yeah.
of this week, but it's very confusing. But
Yeah.
I think we answered Amy's question. And I feel better, because when I saw these notes, Chris, there was this stupid comment in there from you that said rapid fire. And you had like all the questions for today's show in like
I'd
the rapid
scratch
fire
that.
section. And
I scratched that. Yeah.
I was like, what is that? So I just took
I
it
know. I
out
was
and
gonna
I
try
decided
something
not to
new,
do rapid
Jason.
fire.
It's gonna try something new.
Yeah. This ain't the rapid
But
fire show. I'm not the
you're
rapid
right.
fire co-host, Chris.
No, you're not.
No. You know, the other day I was listening to the show on 1.5 times accidentally on the podcast player. On my Apple iPhone, I started playing it, and then I was like, huh, something sounds a little bit off. I don't know. It was playing at 1.5 times speed, because I accidentally
Yeah.
had that clicked on, and I didn't even notice, because I talk with a nice tempo
Yeah.
here. Because why be in a rush, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. With a 1.5 speed, I imagine you were probably just talking at normal speed.
There's one state in these great United States, Chris, that my people are from. I think because the people from this state talk the exact same tempo that I do, and I just feel like
Mm.
such a bond with them. It's not even a state people think. It's very interesting, but I don't want to name the state, so we're going to move on. And it's not this state, but it's close. It's nearby. Jenny from Greenville, South Carolina. And Chris, you want to talk about a place that is just really just booming and really has just had a great decade in terms of income growth, population growth, quality of life. Greenville, South Carolina. There's a lot of universities
Okay.
around there. There's a lot of foreign car manufacturers. The Germans, they've moved in. Just a great place. And if anyone's looking to relocate, I mean, I can't recommend Greenville enough.
Wow.
Beautiful
Okay.
place. Yeah, people from there would know what I'm talking about. It's just a great, well-run place. So, Jenny from Greenville, South Carolina. Hi, I listened to you. Chris. You want to read it? You want to read a question? I
Yeah.
feel so rude.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I forgot how this
Hi.
works.
Hi. I listened to your brand campaign podcast. What if your company name is also a keyword for the company, which would be, in other words,
Keyword for the
uh,
service.
our company
Or
name
that's right. Yeah.
is the same as the way that the company's clients might search. So it's more confusing whenever we run a separate brand campaign and a keyword campaign, because they overlap and they blend. So she wants to know, what do you do? What's the what's the solution? Do you have any thoughts there? It's a unique situation.
Yeah, Chris. One of the most important things you have to do as someone managing a Google Ads account is to decide where to spend your brain power and your energy.
Mm,
And there's a lot of things in Google Ads that you can change and that you have power over, but there's a lot of things you don't. And if your brand name is just way, way, way too close and almost basically the same thing as a general keyword for that industry, where people aren't searching for your brand, then that's about all you can do. I mean, there's nothing you can change. So I would say just run your regular campaign like you would regularly,
Yeah.
targeting your service or product keywords, and then if brands searches sneak in there on the search terms report, all the better. It's not really going to hurt you that much, and it might even help your quality scores because Google's system thinks you're so similar to the service. One thing I'll say, Chris, is I can't really imagine where this would happen unless a brand is so dominant that people search that brand name as if they're searching the product.
Like
Because
Kleenex.
yeah, like Kleenex and tissue. That's the one I thought of.
Yeah.
But because what else? When could that ever happen? Because say you have like a moving company. I mean, unless your name is like The Movers or something like that. I don't know. But even if that's the case, add The Movers exact match to a brand campaign and exclude The Movers exact match negative from the regular campaign, and you'll be fine. Am I missing something, Chris?
No, I was thinking about it, and I'm going to take back what I said. I don't think it's actually that rare after all, since I was kind of contemplating it here, because think about the way plumbers and electric companies, HVAC companies, things like that. I mean, they all have that city name plus their service. Plano plumbers, or elite comfort, superior
Yeah, a
comfort.
lot of them do that with their domain names, but I mean, if you're doing that with, by the way, someone in our PSP Facebook group on Facebook, which all our listeners are welcome to join, just go to Facebook and our Facebook page and look for the PSP Facebook group on Facebook. But if you join, you better answer those two questions. Will you follow the rules, and how did you hear about us? 2 people tried me this week, Chris, and guess what? 2 people got declined. All you got to do is
Got
answer the questions.
kicked out.
Um, Chris, I don't know if it was a Photoshop and fake, because you never know these days online.
Sure.
But someone put in like a picture of like a dentist office or something that said dentist near me, and that was the actual branding on the storefront.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so yes, maybe people are doing this out there with their actual names.
That's genius. 10 out of 10 quality score on dentist near me, because that's the domain name and everything. Yeah,
I
that's
have a feeling, it just seems like it's such a shortcut and all that. I don't think it would work.
yeah.
Or the day they find out people are doing that, the engineers are just gonna sit there and go, okay, if you're doing this,
Nope.
you get set back to normal. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
imagine all the time
reset.
and capital investment that went into
Yeah.
the signage and
And
all that
they
kind of
just
stuff,
push
and the
that button.
filings. Yeah, and then they push the button, and you're not
Yeah.
ahead of
Nope, you
anybody
don't get
anymore.
that.
But
Well,
Chris, I mean,
to answer,
I can't imagine it happening that often. But
yeah, I mean, to answer Jenny's question, you don't need a brand campaign for something like this. If there's that much overlap, don't run a brand campaign. You only run a search campaign. And if you say, well, we have to, then in that case, maybe you have something that's like, something very specific, like, somebody searching your company name.com or things like that. Something that is very specific to confirm that it definitely is a brand search. But in that case, if they're the same, if it's the same keyword, you just don't want a brand campaign. You just consider, that keyword is new customer acquisition, even though it's your company name.
okay, well, Jenny, we hope that helps out there in Greenville, South Carolina. Chris, our next question here comes from Iris from Israel.
Yes.
And Iris had a question about ClickShare. Let me just read through this for a second.
I can read it for you. I
just read one.
I edited it, so
Okay. You want to read 2 in a row? You want to be that guy?
You can read the next one. 2 and 2. I just do. It's a sandwich. I do the first. You do the first. I do this 2 and 3, and you do 4.
You promise?
Here we go. I promise.
Pinky
I'm
swear.
not going to kick you out.
Pinky swear. Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Okay. See?
All right, go
We're
ahead.
good. Hi. Let's say my click share is 60% and I have 60 clicks. I know that the meaning is that there are 40 clicks that I could have received but didn't. My question is, does it mean that the 40 clicks went to my competitor's ads? Or it could have gone to my organic or maybe my competitor's organic ad. Does ClickShare, and this is their core question, does ClickShare measure from potential click of, sorry, let me read that again. Does ClickShare measure from the potential click from paid media only? So they want to know, essentially, they want to know, explain more about this ClickShare definition and what it does.
Chris, when's the last time you looked at ClickShare?
Never. Well, years ago when it came out, and I was like, "This is dumb. I don't use it." So, I mean, yeah, I don't use it, and
I don't.
That's what.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's why I wanted to address it, because it's kind of a bigger discussion. That this could kind of form into from here is that I think there's a lot of metrics in Google Ads that are available that are worthless because they are not the primary metric that you should use to determine something. So, for example, ClickShare is a blending of kind of your click-through rate and your search impression share. It's a blending of how much of the clicks that you got. So there's no anchor to say like how much of that came because your click-through rate's too low and you're not getting much of the click share, and how much of that came from search impression share and you just didn't show up, so your click share is really low. Or your position, let's say, I think position would be a better indicator. Your position's really low, and so you're just not getting very many click share. So that would, one would be because your ads aren't relevant and they don't look good and people aren't clicking on them. The other one would be your bids are so low, your coverage is so poor, you don't show up above organic, so your click share is very low. So I actually don't like click share because of the blending of different metrics like this. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. So I never use it, and I'm looking at it now, and I don't foresee a time where I'll be able to use it because it, like you're saying, it doesn't give me any actionable insights on what to do next. It just makes me feel bad. So I'm looking at a campaign that's in really good shape, and it says click share 17.78%. We'll round up to 18%.
Yep.
And there's just certain things, like if I don't understand something, I'm just not going to get involved. So listen to this, Chris. It says ClickShare is the clicks you've received on the search network divided by the estimated maximum number of clicks you could have received. How often your product is clicked depends on your ad targeting settings, your budget, approval statuses, bids, and the quality of your product data. So they're talking about targeting settings and budget. But then if you go to the help doc, it says, similar to impression share, Google Ads analyzes the ad auctions over the course of the day and includes all auctions that your ad showed in and the auctions where your ad competed but did not show. Well, if you go on that one, it doesn't really have, it doesn't, no, where your ad competed but it did not show. So the actions you showed in and the auctions where your ad competed but did not show. Does your ad compete but not show if you're limited by budget? I don't know.
Sure. Well, that would be lost impression share due to rank or budget.
That would be budget. But do you actually compete? Do you compete where your targeting setting is a different? It's just, I don't know. I don't really get what they're getting at. Yeah. It's hard to,
yeah. I mean,
I don't even know if it includes like, okay, if your budget was larger or if you showed in this location, you could get more clicks, or if it doesn't include that. I can't even gather that from reading these two help documents. And the other thing is, like you're saying, well, if you had bid more, maybe if you had a larger budget. Another thing they say that's weird is, and the quality of your product data. We've never heard those terms ever.
No. And what does that mean? That's such a, like that, those kind of phrases are the things that an agency would say, or someone would say when they don't really have a specific answer, we've improved the quality of your data. I mean, like, what?
So let
That's
me
such an
think
obscure
think
term.
with an open
It
mind
helps
here,
no
Chris,
one.
because I'm open here. One thing I've said in the past is that even if you have more budget room to spend and you're not spending your full desired budget, and you're showing up number one 92% of the time, 93% of the time, it always seems like there's room where you can get more action if you increase things. If you make your budget even larger, and you're not even spending $100 a day and you make it 300. If you're showing up number one 94% of the time and you're bidding $10 a click and you change that to $40 a click, seems like there's ways to get more. And now I see here my search loss impression share due to rank is like 36%, and my search impression share is 37%, but my click share is only 18%. So what I'm thinking maybe click share tells you is like, hey, if you really ramp things up in multiple ways, there's actually ways to get more, which I've always had a theory there is. Maybe this can kind of guide you like, okay, yeah, even though we're not number one 96% of the time, hey, you could actually get 20% more click share if you really boost a lot of different things. That's the only way I'd probably use it, but I don't even need that, go ahead if I'm trying to do that. I just do it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a column where I'm like, I wish I could use that more, but I just haven't seen a way for it to be relevant at this point. Or it's not relevant. It's just that there's other things that are more helpful. Loss due to
Yes,
budget. I'm
exactly.
missing out on 30%. Well, now I know where I stand. Loss due to ad rank, and I'm only showing up number one 40% of the time. Boom. I know what I can do to get more. And so you can make those decisions. And so that's why I think we prefer those other columns versus one that kind of encompasses a bunch of those things.
And to answer the question that I think it was Iris was specifically asking, the answer is that it could have gone to anything other than your ad.
Do you
They may
believe that,
not
or do
have.
you know that? I don't know
I'm.
that.
I know that.
You know that?
I'm going to say I know that, and then I eagerly await someone to correct me if
I
it's
don't know
not
that.
true. But I'm
Yeah,
pretty
it's just
sure
I don't know.
that it has to do with click share that could have gone to anything on Google.com. And it could have gone to organic. It could have gone to a shopping ad. It could have gone, to another paid ad. I'm pretty sure that's what the click share refers to. And in the end, as we've discussed, it's not a valuable metric because it's so blended across many different things.
For us,
We
but
wouldn't.
if some people out there might like it.
Yeah, I don't think so. But let us know.
Well, I'm reading through the
Contact
help.
us.
They give you details about when the data gets updated. So if you want to sit around on 3 a.m. Pacific time on Mondays and see your ClickShare data get updated,
Yeah. See, that's
you can
why
get some
that's why
actionable
that's why I
insights that
think
way.
that's why I think it's across the entire Google.com spectrum. Organic search.
I raise you ClickShare column, and I ask in return 20% more search terms back to us. Search term data. I wish we could make deals. Let's make some deals here.
Yeah, bargaining with nothing.
Aaron from Buffalo. Chris, what state is Buffalo in?
New York.
Very
Wait.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Hey guys, with bounce rate becoming obsolete and being replaced in GA4, I think that's
Is that what they call the
Analytics
Buffalo
thing.
Bills? Is that where the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah.
Weren't they in New York?
Yeah.
Are they still?
They are. Yeah.
Buffalo Billing?
Buffalo Bills.
Right. Are they still Buffalo Billing now? Is there still a team? The NFL team, Buffalo Bills?
Yes.
Okay.
Bills. Not billing.
I know. I was asking if there's still Buffalo Billing, the action, the verb of the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I got you.
It was a joke. You really
I
killed
got
it.
you.
Yeah, thanks.
It's funny.
I love when you laugh. You don't usually laugh at any of my jokes, but when you do, it's a fake one. That's great.
Fired up today, Chris. You notice that gray in the beard on the chin? When you looked in the mirror, did you notice that coming in? It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's there. Wisdom.
Hey guys, with bounce rate becoming obsolete and being replaced in GA4, do you think Google has been calculating it wrong all this time? In GA4, engaged sessions, that term's going to make Chris angry, are going to be the new bounce rate. It seems on the surface just a fancy name for the same metric. Can you shed any insights on where or how bounce rate and engaged sessions may differ or be the same? Chris, you know anything about that?
It's actually rebranding from the negative aspect to the positive aspect. Bounce rate is the negative aspect. Bounce rate is how many people bounced, right? And if you have an 18% bounce rate, you're focusing on the fact that 18% of the people bounced. But engaged sessions instead says, oh, instead of an 18% bounce rate, you now have an 88% engaged session. So, sorry, 82%. Do the math right there. So it's just the inverse. They're the inverse of each other, but they're the exact same metric. They just represent opposite sides of the coin. So,
Chris, I'm seeing some things out there. I can't verify them yet, but I'm seeing it over and over. That an engaged session is a session that had a conversion event, had 2 or more page views, or lasted 10 seconds.
Or lasted.
Yeah.
Oh.
So basically they're saying you're engaged if you're on there for 11 seconds.
So maybe, well, I think we're both correct then. If that's true, then we're both correct because it is the inverse of bounce rate. But what they may have done is they may have
I'm pointing out
what
to
a
you.
Bounce is.
I'm pointing out to you that I'm not going to be focused too much on engaged sessions if all it takes to be engaged is 11 seconds.
Yeah. I like the negative. I think when it comes to managing your traffic quality, I like the negative side of it. I don't like the positive side, right? Because when you're positive, when you look at the bright side of your client, your website traffic,
90% of our traffic was engaged. 90% of our traffic lasted for at least 10 seconds.
That's horrible.
What does that do for you?
Nothing.
It doesn't do anything. So I've had a problem with Google Analytics. I know they're changing the interface a lot. With GA4. Google Ads, I change all the time. Whatever they want to do, I do. And I've just learned to live that way inside of Google Ads. But honestly, Chris, with Google Analytics, I've been resistant to the change. And I still use the old school. I don't know if it's called Universal or something, but I got really good at using certain parts of, I think it's a Universal one, to help me with my traffic data. And I mean, really good. And I just don't want to change out of it. And so I always go back to the flip back to the Universal or whatever it is. So I didn't even know about this. But when it comes to judging Google Ads data inside of Google Analytics, we can have that discussion. Chris, there's a lot of interesting things you can do in there. You can do goal tracking. And when someone sees the thank you page or something like that, you can track that as a goal, send it back to Google Ads as a conversion. There's other things you can do. I would say if you're not going that far with your traffic and you're only thinking about engaged sessions, how about this way of thinking? Take engaged sessions as a first offer and never use it and come up with your own definition of an engaged session. And for some businesses, that might be 30 seconds on the site. For some businesses, that might mean 5 minutes. You know that if you're paying for Google Ads traffic and 10% of that traffic, the 10% that lasts for at least 5 minutes, that's super high quality traffic. And they seem to call in a lot and fill out forms, even if you can't track that for whatever reason. Track the time on site. So my answer to Aaron would be, yeah, it does seem like they're inversing. It seems like they're doing that with bounce rate and engaged sessions, but it seems like from what we're reading, engaged session might only mean 10 seconds. So you can create your own goal your own time on site goal of whatever time you want to track. It's probably going to be longer than 10 seconds.
Yeah,
And you can track whatever is an engaged session for your business. And I think that's a good way to have an outlook on it. Set up a goal, time tracking goal, time spent on site, and track it your own way.
Jason, we have a couple more questions. I have my dancing shoes on. Let's take a break.
I don't think you do, buddy.
Answer.
I don't think you do.
Let's answer a question. No, you're right. I don't have shoes on. You're right.
This might be a little bit of a slow dance.
Yeah, yeah. You're the only one that wears shoes.
This might be a little bit of the last dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. We got a question from Sylvia and David coming up after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back. And before we get to our questions, I want to remind you about Opteo. Opteo.com/PSP. That's OPTEO.com/PSP. There's a link in the description of the show. Wherever you're watching it, you can click on that link and enjoy an 8-week free trial. This tool, it has more than I can list in this very brief advertisement that I'm reading. I mean, it does everything from reports to bid assistance to budget planning. I mean, it does everything. You really just have to see it to believe it. It's an amazing tool. As many of our listeners have discovered, it becomes a normal tool in their tool belt that they use as part of their everyday management process. So check it out. You're going to like it.
Okay, Chris, we have a question from Sylvia from Facebook. This was the old PSP Facebook group on Facebook when it was named something other than the PSP Facebook group on Facebook. But I still have the question in from the old days from Facebook.
Thank you. Okay.
At the moment, I guess this was their question. So they said, at the moment, my question is how to transition from a very complex setup with multiple campaigns and ad groups that are time consuming and low performing. Those two things seem to go together, time consuming and low performing. People should think about that more. To the new SKAG structure. And then someone commented, what's the new SKAG structure? And then they answered, it's the genius idea that Chris and Jason had about service keywords to ad groups. Such a beautiful thing we created.
It is, yes.
But Chris, how do you go from you see this all the time. Someone's got a long running, they're hesitant to change it, long running, very complex, tons of campaigns, way too many ad groups, time consuming, low performing. How do you put this in a nice little service to keyword ad group structure?
That's a great question, Sylvia. My preferred method is this. I have a very systematic way that I like to do this. I actually use the search terms and use the filtering to essentially slowly start eliminating search terms using that filter. So let me explain it this way. You have a certain term, at the top that's getting the most clicks, a certain search term that's getting a lot of clicks. And then you grab that word and put it into a text file or something like that, so you grab that one and then you can take and filter that word out, so you start doing this in bulk. You start grabbing multiple words and you say, okay, well, I got this word and this is the same word. It's just in a different order, so instead of saying ABC, the word is CBA. I have that covered with my word that I just grabbed here. So I can eliminate both of those. And slowly over time, you can grab your winning search terms and add those as keywords in your new service to keyword ad group that you're building. So this works great. This is so much better than doing keyword transitions. I think keyword transition is a horrible idea because the keyword that's working in one ad group, as you know, if you've listened to the show long enough, you know that a keyword does not necessarily represent the kind of traffic that you're getting. You have to look at the search term. So you need to look at the search terms, find the winners, slowly start picking them out, and then use a filter to, by the time you get to the end of it, you're left with unprofitable, unwanted, crappy search terms that you wouldn't want to add anyway. And now you've got a solid list of search terms to start with. You got a clean list and you can build those into ad groups as needed. and then go from there. That's really the simplest solution that I found that works for me.
So do you create new ad or new campaigns, or do you just kind of
Yes,
make these ones smaller over time?
I actually would create a new campaign.
Okay, that's what I do too. Yeah, that's what I do too all the time. I just create a new campaign. I know it's hard for some people to do, but you just do new campaign. You have a new campaign. And then, like you're saying, Chris, what I like to do is I like to select forget the old campaign. How about that? Oh, people hate that, Chris. They hate it. What about, isn't our data valuable? Aren't you going to look through it? Oh, they hate that. They hate it when I say, not really. So I stopped saying not really, and I said, of course, we're going to look through the whole campaign, gather data from there, see what was working, see what wasn't working, and take it from there. What a great question that doesn't actually answer anything, or a great answer that doesn't answer anything. Chris, but my point is, if it's a true service to keyword campaign, service to keyword ad group, service keyword to ad group structure, create your campaign, look at your website. What services do you offer? Oh, those are the 5 services. Create 5 ad groups.
Yeah.
So that's how you get started. And then what keywords do you fill them up with? That's when I'll start to look at the old campaign, look at the keywords, look at the search terms. If you have good conversion data, sort it by conversion, see what was actually bringing in conversions. If you don't have good conversion data, just look at the search term, sort by clicks, see what was bringing in volume, but then judge that search term to see if it was bringing in good volume or not, good quality stuff. And then take those search terms and you can put them inside of your already created ad groups in the new campaign that are based on your services. Then go to Google, do some searches for your service, see the way people are searching for things, put a few keywords in there, and get started. So that's how I transition. It's you got to be a little bit cold, got to be a little bit tough, and just go, hey, we're going to do things differently. Nice thing about that, if we're wrong, service to keyword ad group, if you don't like the way it works, you can always go back to the way it was. That's why I like leaving old campaigns untouched.
That's an important point. If it doesn't work, a great reason to create a new campaign is you always have the old one. Yeah, that's a great point.
Take us away here, Chris. David from Winnipeg. Go ahead. Yeah, read it. Yeah, go ahead.
I get it. David from Winnipeg, Canada.
Winnipeg, Canada. That's where he's from. He's from Winnipeg. Go ahead. He starts it off by saying, hey, Jason and Chris, look. But you read it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna start. Okay.
You're the caboose.
Hey, Jason and Chris. I love listening to the show.
You look like a red caboose today.
I'm tired, Jason.
A red caboose, but it's the Christmas season, so it has a little reef on the railing with the beard. You know?
What?
Let's go chew, buddy. Finish this out here. David from Winnipeg, go ahead. He's
love listening to the show and love and how the discussion is about real world issues we have in the ever-changing world of Google Ads. I'd appreciate you talking about negative keywords and how precise they are now versus in the past. And if things are changing in the less word for word Google Ads world that we live in today, what are the differences in broad phrase and exact match negative keywords, if any? That's a great question, because there is a drastic difference between keywords and negative keywords.
Chris, Winnipeg is in the province of Manitoba, and it might just be almost straight north of where we are in Oklahoma and Texas. But the keyword there is north, Chris. Today it's 1 and -7, the high and the low. Yuck. And on Wednesday coming up, as we give you your weather forecast for all our listeners in Winnipeg.
They probably know.
The high is a -6 and the low is a -23 Fahrenheit.
Oh my gosh.
Really? Very cold. So you're inside, you're doing Google Ads, and what's the big deal? You're indoors. So, Chris, Google Ads negative keywords match types. We have this help section. I want to verify it. It's called About Negative Keywords. We're going to put a link to that in our description. We'll put a link to the ClickShare one as well. But they make it very clear in here. They say negative keywords won't match to close variants or other expansions. For example, if you exclude the negative broad match keyword flowers, ads won't be eligible to serve when a user searches red flowers. Negative keyword flowers, you won't be able to show on the search red flowers, but can serve if a user searches for red flower. So that kind of sums up everything you need to know about negative keywords.
That's all you need. Yeah.
They do not, hey, this ain't turbo mode or whatever you had called it. Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Well, we're getting, we're pushing the hour. So it's just, but okay, go ahead.
Wow. Someone's got somewhere to be after this, I guess. Someone doesn't put together the newsletter after this. Someone doesn't edit the video after this. Someone doesn't post a social after this. Someone doesn't edit the audio file after this.
I would love to compensate you for your time or help. No one asked me.
Hey, save that stuff for after air, Chris. Came off a little too real there. You're so defensive. I'm obviously joking with you, Chris. We have people that help us now. We've got this thing streamlined. But Chris, that about sums it up. Like you put in flowers there, you're not going to be able to block searches that include flower singular. I mean, what more do you need to know? Think about it from Google's perspective. They're a business too. They don't want to make it easy for people to overly block searches or to put a spin on it to make it too easy for people to make the mistake of overly blocking good searches they want to show up on. So that's the way they approach negative keywords. That's the way we thought it was. Still hasn't changed. We can go through the different match types here, Chris. Say you have a negative keyword, running shoes. If you add it as broad, running shoes, you can show up on running shoe, singular. We talked about that. You can show up on blue tennis shoes because running is not in that search. But anything that includes specifically running shoes, and they'll give you one more, they'll put it backwards, shoes running. But anything that includes running shoes, blue running shoes or running shoes, you won't show up. Phrase match is old school phrase match. If you have running shoes negative, you won't show up on any search that includes running shoes, that exact phrase in that order. And then negative exact, you won't show up on that exact search. I know you're like a broad negative guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've been using any phrase or exact match negatives lately or sticking to broad?
Oh, no, I definitely use all three. Is that exact match negative is something I use for
quote control, right? Control to force traffic to respective campaigns or ad groups.
Right. So if I find that a keyword keeps triggering something that has elements of something that I like, but it's not exactly what I want, it's in the wrong order or it has some extra word in there, I may not block that one word because that might be too risky. I would instead block the exact match of that. So I think there's a place for all three. Broad, I use all the time for competitor names. I use it for, references to DIY and, pro bono and stuff like that. I might use that as a phrase match because that's two words together and I want to make sure that it's included together. That's an example of a phrase match, but I use all three. And to answer David's question specifically about, how much has changed now versus in the past, AI learning, the algorithms of 2022 have absolutely no place in negative keywords. It is still the most pure area of 2016.
It's 2016, like when we started this podcast, Chris. It takes us back to our honeymoon phase when we would get together and record this show and go on the road together and learn about each other.
We've never done anything together. You've only met with me. I even asked you to come see me once. I was like an hour away. And just because you had a new baby, you wouldn't come see me. Ridiculous.
So refreshing to get to negative keywords. Nothing's changed. We learned the topic. We mastered it. and now we
And nothing
continue
changed.
to be able to master it because nothing changed.
That's the thing,
Chris,
David. You can rest secured if you use negative keywords in the same way you did 5-6 years ago. Keep using them in the same way. Really, the only thing that's changed, the only thing I can think of that's changed in the past 15 years with negative keywords is one thing.
wow.
They never they got rid of um the negative exact match variant, where I can't even remember the official term for it, but you used to be able to say, if you put a dash in front of a negative, it would, I can't even remember the details, but it was an exclusionary opposite kind of thing. So if
Oh,
you wanted
wow.
to target
Interesting.
like a Disney DVD or something, but it needed to include Disney, but not DVD. I can't remember what it is, but that's the only thing they've changed in like 15 years.
I guess the biggest question I get from clients is, does it matter if I do it broad match versus phrase match? And I am tempted to say not really, because broad is so limited in this sense. It's so
Mm-hmm.
limited
Yeah.
that you're really, the only difference there is just the only difference is basically got to do with like that exact search in a different order if it's multiple words, like running shoes versus shoes running. But that's super rare. But like you add shoes as a negative keyword broad match, you're going to block any search that includes a word. And one reason why is negatives so often are one word. So you add a broad negative of one word, shoes, you're going to block any search that includes the word shoes, including shoes. But you're not going to block any search that includes singular shoe. Well, you add shoes, phrase match, you're going to block any search that includes shoes, including
Same thing.
shoes.
No
And
difference.
yeah, so there's no difference really unless there's more than one word, and that's got to do if it's searched in a different order. Broad will block the different order, that exact search, and in a different order, those exact words, I should say, but phrase won't. But honestly, that's so rare. So I don't see a big deal. The one time where I think about phrase, Chris, is I just like to be careful sometimes if I'm ever adding a term that's very close to my topic or includes or not, it wouldn't include it, but it's something close. I'd like to slow myself down and really think about it. But other than that, I don't see a big difference. And you have that tool of exact negatives primarily to be used to um, you have that tool of exact negatives to be used to control traffic to different ad groups and campaigns. But also, Chris, if you like a search like running shoes with anything before or after it, blue running shoes for sale, but you don't like the exact search running shoes, you can add that as a negative exact and only block that search, but then you
Yep.
won't block any phrase that or any way it's searched with stuff before or after it, which can come in handy sometimes. So I think
Oh yeah.
that covers it, because
That's a
sometimes that core term is super high volume but not relevant. So you can get ahead of it by blocking it with an exact negative.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great tactic where you might do, um, you know, local plumbers as a phrase match, but block local plumbers as an exact match, and then you'll get everything else except for that one exact match. So you might get longer tail stuff, and not just that 2-word phrase. Yeah, really cool tactic. So yeah, there's a lot of power there. I love that we can harken back to the old days with negative keywords.
Every time I look into your eyes, I see the old days. I've got so many memories of doing this show with you, hours and hours and hundreds of hours, and
Yeah.
fights and wins, and we've done it all here, Chris. But we're going to keep doing it. We're getting close to our 300th episode. We're debating on what we should do for that episode. If you have any ideas, leave us a comment on social media.
I think we should just talk about what it's like
To do
to
a
put out
podcast?
what it's like to do 300 episodes of a podcast with someone about the same topic for 300 hours. I
I
think, what's
tend
that
to
like?
try to not think about that, because as soon as I start thinking that way, I'm like, oh man, what are we going to talk about? Why are we talking about what we're talking
We
about?
haven't
But it
run out
seems to
yet.
work when you don't think about it. Yeah. And no, nor will we ever run out, Chris. We're just going to keep
No.
going and going because we got things to do. What are some things that our listeners should do here, Chris? Tell us about your business, how people can contact you.
Yes, you can check out chrisschaefer.com to reach out to me about managing your account, or consulting, training, or join my Patreon, where I do a very intimate relationship with all my patrons. You can enjoy that. Jason, what about you?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I can be reached at rothmanppc.com, Google Ads Consulting and Management. No drama, only great success. And if you want that, reach me there. So, everyone, thanks for watching on YouTube. Growing on YouTube again. Subscribe there. Thanks for Chris hates YouTube, but we're there. I don't know why. He's a big YouTube user. I've seen his browsing history. It's quite interesting. And we're also, of course, on audio for your ears and their delight. So thanks for watching.
Pleasure.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you next week, episode 297. See you then.